Hello, and welcome to Wine, Whiskey, and Words. I'm Daniel.
I'm drunk. I mean, bread.
If you listened to our podcast before, welcome back. We love that you are returning to hear us just ramble on about whatever's on our mind. If
This
you're
this smells pretty.
ooh, if you're new, each episode we try something to drink. Often it's wine or whiskey. Sometimes we branch out, try something different. We've had some rum. We've had some vodka. We've had quite a few different little
Uh,
options.
Gin,
Yep, yep.
um, vodka, gin, bourbon, rum. No,
Scotch.
no Malort.
Yep, no Malort yet. But anyway, so we have our drink. We talk a little bit about it, and then we mention something interesting that's happened since the previous episode. That varies broad greatly, and then we talk about the topic that we decided on the previous week. We do our best to prep and research topics. But mostly we're just here to have fun and have an interesting time, and we hope you find it interesting as well. With that said, let's begin. Brad, what do you have for us today?
I have wine.
Okay.
Back in 2021, I've mentioned this before. I traveled around the U.S. for a few months and spent about 5 days in Woodinville, Washington. During that time, I joined three different wine clubs, one of which I'm still a member, and that's this one right here that I'm presenting, Lobo Hills. And I originally had picked out uh, the white wine, the Auxerrois, and and a Malbec, and then I thought, you know what, the Auxerrois is something that you really don't get find anywhere. So I thought maybe I'll bring another red that you don't see as much. And so I brought the Carménère. So which tends to have a bit more of like a peppery note to it.
Okay.
But I'm going to read to you what the notes are on the Auxerrois. So first of all, the vintage is 2023. Um, and then so apparently in Washington State, Lobo Hills is the only one that works with this varietal. So the way that they make this one, what Tony did is he aged it in two separate tanks with two different yeast treatments. One that was Alsatian, and the other one's Burgundian. Then they blended it at the bottling, and so it was aged in stainless steel on the lees, stirred once every 3 weeks for 6 months. So the aromas are lemon, which I definitely got, peach, straw, apricot, melon, and clove. Um, so this is something that's kind of a little bit limited too. I think generally when they're dealing with grapes that aren't used as much, they don't produce quite as much. But the first time that they made this, I'm under the impression that they really didn't produce much at all. This time it was 100 cases, which to me still isn't a huge amount.
No, not for
But
a good commercial operation.
no,
So I do want to say I had never heard of an Auxerrois until you just brought this, and that is pronounced Auxerrois. That is spelled, not pronounced.
yeah.
But no, I've never heard of this. It smells lovely. I wish we could give our listeners
Yeah.
smell-o-vision or
And
something.
this I really, as it opens up a bit more, I get more of like a honeydew melon.
Yeah, it has. It doesn't have. I mean, you said it was aged in stainless, so it's
Yeah.
not. It doesn't have any buttery
Right.
ness like a Chardonnay, but it does have a very distinct flavor profile that's, I would say, closer to a Chardonnay in some ways.
It reminds me more of like a Viognier
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I would say that's fair.
because it has a little bit of that sweetness to it.
Hmm.
Because I always described the Viognier as somewhat more like a cross between like the acidity of a Sauvignon Blanc, but more I think more like a Pinot Gris with like a Riesling. But this one, it does have a bit of a like a smoothness across the
Yeah,
palate.
it's very mild on its acidity. It's there, but it's very mild. And
I
like I
do get
said,
that tingle on the side of my tongue.
very well balanced.
I you know me, I'm not much on the white wines, but I do enjoy this one.
I used to not be big on white wines, and they're starting to grow on me as I've branched out and tried different things. I'm very picky, I would say, with white wine.
I really like
Yeah,
this.
this was a great choice. This is from the Yakima Valley Inland Desert, 100% Inland Desert Vineyard. I assume that's just the name of their little area.
the the Yakima Valley is the area
Yeah.
where they have
Okay.
the vineyard. And once again, this is from Lobo Hills.
Yeah. If you can get a bottle from this place, I highly recommend it.
They're out.
Oh, well, don't get it. Get it next year.
Yeah, yeah. Next
So
time they produce it. But I do have one more bottle at home.
yeah, I might be robbing your apartment this evening, Brad. So
God, this is really good.
yeah, so that's delightful. What else you got for us?
All right. So the next one is the Carménère. Um, so this one, it's from the Sugarloaf Vineyards. So this is a 2021 vintage. So it was a very warm year that year. You get a tense aroma of blueberries, black olive, black tea, and jalapeno. And on the palate, it opens up into flavors of blueberry, pepper, butterscotch, and anise.
I will say, I was when you said black olive, I was like, oh, you know what? That's what that smell is. Like it's not overwhelming. It doesn't have that real salty smell, but it's got a hint of it.
I like this. It is, and as I mentioned before, that peppery note.
So this does have a little butter on the nose, just a bit.
This is something I would drink all the time. And it's not.
Oh yeah,
It smelled like it was going to be a bit heavier, more like a Shiraz, but it's
yeah.
definitely not.
I was expecting a lot of intensity, but it's rather
No,
mild.
you could drink a whole bottle of this and they'll go, where'd all the wine go?
Yeah, I that may happen. That may happen during this podcast. No, so yeah, I am very impressed, Brad. Great selection, Lobo Hills. If you've never heard of them, I hadn't either until Brad presented this. So check them out. Look online. Order some wine. Hopefully they deliver.
Well, that's how I get my wine.
Oh right, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
So, oh, and that was my only bottle.
yep,
Oh
we're
no.
gonna have to reload the tank.
I'm gonna have to. Oh
All right,
goodness.
road trip. Hey, that's what we should do. A road trip.
To Washington. You think Jamie's gonna let you do that?
Nope, nope, nope. Well, Brad, anything else you want to add about the wine?
Oh, no. I mean, it's real good. I'm on Cellar Tracker right now, and I'm marking them as uh, drunk, just because I keep track of all my wines.
One of these days, I hope to have enough wine that I need to use Cellar Tracker, but I'd had a slew of issues lately between my air conditioner dying and most recently the hurricane left us without power a couple days, and
It was
it's
a hurricane.
yes. So if you've been listening, our last episode was actually an unplanned impromptu episode about the hurricane during the hurricane because we wanted to just kind of emphasize that panicking is not necessary. It's not the answer. Just so you are aware, we did fare well. Not all of our neighbors did. No one had major structural damage, but a lot of my neighbors lost roofs or lost the shingles off of their roofs. Some of them just completely stripped off. Much of Tampa Bay and the area, which is a large area if you're not familiar with the geography, got hit rather hard. We got lucky. It could have been a lot worse, but it wasn't pretty. It was a direct hit. This was my first time being directly in the line of the eye wall.
Really?
Yeah, and I think we fell asleep probably about 10:30 or 11. When that eye wall hit about 1 a.m., I it was the only time I've ever been actually genuinely concerned about like my roof ripping off or anything crazy like that. Luckily, that did not happen. But I want to just say a big thank you. If anybody in the Tampa area is a first responder or a lineman, especially, good Lord, these guys have been working hard. We lost power for about 3 days, and they were expecting us to be without for 5. So thank you, big thank you
And
for the.
there's people still without power.
Oh, absolutely. The area there are over 100,000 people at least right now without power. We were very fortunate. We have very good neighbors who let us share their generators, so we were able to save the food in our refrigerator and have some comfort. But yeah, it was a rough hit, and like I said, again, I still stand by what we said before. Evacuate if you're in an evacuation zone, but don't panic. Hurricanes are scary, but you're going to be okay as long as you do the smart thing.
As long as it's not hitting you with a category 5.
Yeah,
I mean,
had this
really.
been a 5, I would. I don't know that we would have been spared structural damage.
Mm-mm. No.
Um,
I mean, I believe Andrew was a 5.
yeah. So
And my home in Miami was like 90% damage.
yeah, Brad, you got power back within 2 days, didn't you?
I got power back within a day.
Yeah, Brad, you were very fortunate.
I was.
So no, all in all, we were very lucky, and thank you for any of you who were worried about us, but we're good to go. Brad, what has happened other than hurricane and recovery? What's happened interesting in your life since the last episode?
Um, Goodness. Not a whole lot, but I mean, I got invited to my cousin's wedding in Orlando in December, and so I'm gonna, uh, you know, I don't always have a lot that I can do, but in this case I could, so I'm gonna be providing all of the wine and bubbly
Can I be your
for them.
plus one?
No, you cannot.
Okay, well, never mind.
No, you cannot.
I'm not safe around company
No, no, or wine.
or wine.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. What's new with you?
Well, other than the hurricane, obviously, we did learn that my wife has about 3 days of patience for not having power, and then she says, "I want electricity, I want internet, and I want hot water," and that's where her line is. So I learned that, but also more interesting, and I'm gonna go uber nerdy right now.
Oh God.
Um, Today I learned something. If you ever have typed a paper or anything, or read a book or anything, you probably have noticed that dashes sometimes are very short, sometimes they're a little longer. And we always call them dashes, and we don't really think much of them. But there are actually three different kinds of dashes. There is the hyphen, which is a little tiny short one that's on your keyboard, and there is an N dash, EN dash. That is middle length dash, and you have to press a special key sequence to type that on the keyboard. And then there's an M dash, EM dash, that is the longest of the three, and it also has a keyboard shortcut. But in like Microsoft Word, if you type two dashes, it'll automatically do it for you. So today I had an interesting programming situation that came up where I learned that dashes, the kind of dash you use matters because something broke when somebody used an N dash unexpectedly.
I don't want to be friends with the people that had this much time on their hands that they had to come up with different lengths of dashes.
Well, you can
In fact, I'm not a violent person, but I would probably beat the crap out of them.
you can blame typesetters because this is a very old thing. Actually, if you buy an old book, you will find that the different dashes are used for different things. I'm not going to go into it right now, but if you look on Google, the difference between a hyphen, en dash, and an em dash, there's a great Merriam-Webster article on what each one is
Well,
and
great.
what it's used for.
Great.
It's really cool. Like, it's very interesting. I was an English major, or wanted to be an English teacher. Actually,
I was an English major, and I think that crap is boring as.
I told you I was going to go uber nerdy, but yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
that's the interesting thing, is the world of dashes. Sorry that I just laughed at everything.
Daniel's idea of like a fantastic meal is oatmeal. So we're not setting the bar very high, folks.
Hey, you know what? A good thing of oatmeal with some cinnamon and raisins. That's all you need, man.
Wow.
That's all you need in life. That and good wine. And Brad, damn, I cannot get over how good this wine is.
You're gonna need to pour a little bit of that for Jamie. I mean, she's gonna have to try just a little.
Yes, we will. She'll just have to suffer.
It is really freaking good.
All right, Brad, it's your topic. Go.
Okay. Well, all right. So the topic this week was basically shows that jumped the shark or ended horribly, shows that ended really well, and then also, who would you want to share a drink with? What TV character? So I'm gonna.
I only got like 2/3 of that in my memory, so I'm gonna wing it for the rest
Oh,
of it.
that's fine. So TV shows. I'm gonna start with TV shows that jumped the shark or ended horribly. First of all, I'm gonna start with the TV the the whole jump the shark. How that came about is from Happy Days. Is they had an episode where they were filming on the beach, and Fonzie jumped an actual shark.
In his jacket, like he's in this
Yeah,
ridiculous leather jacket on water
and it
skis.
really didn't serve any purpose. It's like it's episode. It's like, what is this even doing? This doesn't follow anything normal with the TV series. It was kind of like, you know, I want to say like Elvis Goes to Hawaii. You know, there was I think a movie that Elvis went to Hawaii or something like that. But
So, side note
yeah,
about Elvis in Hawaii. Um, the first time I ever went to Graceland, there's this moment where you walk down into Elvis's racquetball court, and he's got all his platinum records on it, and it's his Aloha or Farewell Aloha uh, uh, concert playing on the TV and the sound,
right.
and he's in his like that stereotypical white suit with the rhinestones, and he's singing Amazing Grace and all these songs, and like I will say I get chills to this moment. Sorry, I when you said Elvis in
That's okay.
Hawaii, my brain and
It's
anyway,
okay.
sorry Brad, go ahead.
It's okay, sweetie. All right, moving on. Um, a TV series that I really loved and that I got really angry about how it ended was How I Met Your Mother.
So I've started watching How I Met Your Mother at least 3 times and watched many of the episodes, but I actually don't know how it ends, so please don't ruin it for me.
I'm going to ruin it for you.
Okay.
So, I mean, spoiler alert, you're going to hear a lot of ruinings today. But it builds so much throughout the entire series about how I met your mother, the whole process, and then at the very end, so you meet the woman that is the mother of the children that you've seen throughout the entire series, and then they kill her off.
What?
They kill her off,
Ah, jeez.
and
Now I'm
then
glad I didn't finish it.
you find out that Barney and Robin get a divorce, and then he ends up, um, going after Robin,
So
the main
Barney
character.
Barney was on my list of people I'd like to have a drink with. I feel like you'd have a great time
Oh,
drinking with
there's
him.
no
It would be
doubt.
legend. Wait for it.
Dairy.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. So, I agree. Although I would have to say that the person that I wanted to have a drink with was House.
Ah, yeah. House would
Yeah.
be good.
It,
Oh, I
it
have a
was.
whole list of people I wanted to have a drink
Oh,
with. So,
jeez. Well, another TV show that just went off the rails. I'm a big sci-fi guy,
me too.
and I loved the TV show Sliders
Yeah, that was a cool show.
until the main characters started leaving. You had Arthur Rhys Davies, then Jerry O'Connell, and they did that whole thing where Jerry O'Connell had a brother that was in another dimension,
Yeah,
and then
Sliders was like all about sliding between different like alternate timelines and
yeah,
universes.
and it started out really good. I mean, it was like, what if Russia had won the Cold War? What if penicillin had never been
It's
invented?
a very alternate history type show.
Yeah, but it got to the point where then they said, okay, well, one of the main characters, Jerry O'Connell's character, is not actually from that Earth. He's from another Earth, and his parents sent him to that one because of these alternate human beings who were trying to invade other realities, were attacking. It was real. It was crap. It really was.
So I actually, in this process of looking at all these movies and shows that jump the shark, I came up with like a few common threads, and one of the things that I find, or two of the things actually, were part of this. One of the things I find creates a great potential for something to jump the shark is alternate timelines, alternate universes, and it's usually a sci-fi thing that just it creates too much potential for a show to just go off the rails. Um,
Hmm.
so I find that that was a very common thread. And the other, you mentioned it, is either the major character leaves or the major actor changes. Um,
Two and a Half Men.
yeah, and that was actually on my list was Two and a Half Men, which is an awesome show. I get it.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen did some things maybe we shouldn't all be proud of,
He's a tiger shark.
but he was a great character on that show,
Yeah,
and
he
so was
was.
John Cryer. John Cryer really did an amazing job as well, as did whatever the kid's name is.
Yeah.
But yeah, once Ashton Kutcher took over, really abruptly, like one day he was just there,
Hmm.
and they didn't really explain it a lot. They just kind of let it go. I
They basically said that, Charlie's character died, and this is a new guy. He's buying the place.
yeah, it was just bizarre, and
It was bizarre that John Craig's character would still be living there.
exactly, they should have just let the show go, and they didn't. They tried to save it, and that happens a lot. Something happens, and they try to save a show, but yeah, like if you lose your main actor, you lose your main character. Let it go. Just let it go.
You know what? I'm feeling a little guilty right now. Not guilty, but a little bad that I pop these bottles open because they're so good. They're like bottles that I'd want to like keep for myself.
Yeah.
Not bad. I mean, just kind of like, I guess, greedy.
Well, at least we're enjoying it together.
There
Man.
we go. Cheers. These are really freaking
Yeah,
good.
I cannot stress enough how great these are, and I plan to be reaching out for some wine of my own
Yeah,
in the near future.
I'm gonna have to reach out to Diana, who I've been talking with over at Lobo Hills.
Okay.
Actually, I have another shipment that should be on its way to me soon.
What
So
day is it arriving?
I don't know yet. It's because it's coming from Washington State. It's they've got to time it well
Okay.
because of the weather.
Yeah. So another show that lost its main character, and I think had a great opportunity to call it a day, and tried to keep it going, that just it just fizzled out, was The Office, the US version. When Steve Carell left that show, The Office just everything. I mean, I was not a fan of Andy. I forget the guy's
Yeah,
name. He was another Daily Show guy, and the show just didn't make it.
I kind of I'm gonna disagree because I still enjoyed. I mean, obviously, I liked Steve Carell more than Andy's character, um, but I still enjoyed the show, and I think it ended up ending marvelously. Um,
That's fair.
but definitely Steve Carell, I think, put a damper. But it was really cool though to see all these different actors coming in to possibly play his substitute.
I do think they made the best of it, and I guess maybe it didn't jump the shark completely. Maybe it just it lost something. I guess
Oh, I think
was my
anytime
feeling.
you lose someone like Steve Carell,
Yeah.
Steve Carell, we love you.
So going back to a show that I think jumped the shark and sci-fi, and it not for any real reason. I just feel like they let it run too long. I am a huge Superman fan. I just always have loved Superman. Just a awesome character. I just love the idea of all of it. And one of my favorite shows was a show called Smallville, which was like
Hmm.
Superman. Well, it started Superman in high school. And I get it. If you're going to do a show about people in high school, you get about 4 years, and hopefully, unless they stick around for a while, and then you're done. And honestly, I can say that I feel that if Smallville had ended when he finished high school or shortly after, it would have been a better show. They did a lot of trying to bring in other characters, other more comic booky storylines, and I
Yeah.
love comic books. Don't get me wrong, but it just felt like it was too forced. And like I said, I think they should have done something to have him graduate and then take his mantle of Superman, but they didn't. It was still a great show. I enjoyed it. I've watched it multiple times. At one time, I owned all of the DVDs.
It's been a long time since I watched it, but from what I remember, it in the originally it was more about the building up the characters, and then, as you said, it got to be a little bit more campy.
Yeah,
But they should have just ended it and then created a different series.
exactly, a spinoff.
Call it Metropolis.
Well, that's
You
really
know,
what happened. Is it was set in Smallville, which hence the name, and then everybody went off to Metropolis, and like occasionally they'd have a video of something happening in
hmm
Metropolis, and it was just it really, I would say, big one. It also went down the path, as comic books often do, of alternate realities and all that stuff, and again, alternate universes, man. There, it creates a major potential
yeah,
for jumping the shark
yeah.
or ending badly.
Now, another one that it's was popular more in the '90s. Seinfeld. Seinfeld ended horribly. And it wasn't
Oh,
so
was that
that
like the jail thing?
yes, and it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
that it was a horrible ending. It was much like a letdown. If you're operating at here the entire time and then you drop down to here, it's like,
So
what are you doing?
I actually think that Seinfeld is that kind of classic sitcom that, yeah, I mean, there were things that happened, but it never had an overarching storyline that was really solid.
Well, that was the whole point. It was a show about nothing.
Yes. And so I don't know that I agree completely. I mean, I agree the last episode was kind of lame, but I don't feel like it jumped the shark. I just feel like it
No,
was
no, no.
like,
I'm not saying it jumped the shark. I'm saying that it ended poorly.
I feel like at any moment in that show, they could have just said, "We're pulling the plug on this, and we're never doing another episode." And
That
it
would have been better.
yeah, it would have been
That
fine.
would have been better.
Yeah,
I think if they had, if like maybe George had accidentally killed someone, and
yeah,
and they ended up in a courtroom, that would have been better
yeah.
than to just end up with all of them in a jail cell because they didn't call the police on someone else, which I think it was.
Yeah. Another show that I think it's not even really just a show. Another universe that I think jumped the shark. And for all you sci-fi fans, don't hate me because I love all of these shows and I've watched all of them at least twice. Um, Stargate, like that whole thing. The original movie I thought was great.
The original movie was fantastic.
SG-1, I love the way they brought it back. It started out really well. They always had a good sense of humor about how absurd. At one point, they like made an episode where they were just basically making fun of themselves the whole time. It was like somebody made a show that was basically Stargate, but it was just goofy. But I feel like they started to lose me when Jack O'Neill, the main character, was no longer in command of the team. And then like the show went for like 8 more seasons. They had all these spin-offs, Stargate Atlantis, there was like Stargate Universe,
Yeah, I didn't
there were
watch
all these
any of those.
movies. And it just at some point it just felt repetitive and forced. And at one point they just got so tired because it was so redone. They introduced this enemy that was so powerful, like nothing could be done, and it got into like magic and wizardry, and it really lost me. I've watched them, it's fine, but yeah, the Stargate series, they could have ended it after season 6 of the SG-1 and
Yeah, I
probably
think
been
I
fine.
I think I probably made it through series 3 or 4, through 3 or 4 of the SG1,
Yeah,
but probably not much past that.
yeah,
A big one from the last decade, Game of Thrones.
really.
Game
See,
of Thrones because you have throughout the entire series you have this build up. So George R. R. Martin had most everything written, but he's such a massive procrastinator. He didn't complete the series, so it was
oh,
left up to the writers the of the
of
television
HBO.
series
Okay.
to go ahead and finish it. So that's why the you know there's such developed characterization going up through it, and then in the last season it's like fuck it, let's just do this.
Yeah, I did
It's
feel like they ripped the band-aid off on that last
that's what
season.
happened. I mean, it was was a disorganized chaos.
Have you watched any of the new show, the House of
I
Dragons or
have
whatever?
not.
I watched a couple episodes and couldn't get into it. But yeah, I see what you're saying, but I didn't hate the way it ended.
I didn't hate it, but it was not done well.
Yeah, but I feel like you would have had he had to do it, it would have been 30 more years of episodes, which
I'd been
might have
good
been
with
all
that.
right.
Yeah.
Speaking of long running series that definitely jumped the shark and maybe need to call it quits. This is not sci-fi in any way. Back 20 years ago or so, when I was married to my first wife, I started watching Grey's Anatomy.
Oh
It's a
God.
hospital show.
I stopped watching that after like the 9th season or so.
Yeah, I don't know that I made it even that
It's
far.
still going on, isn't it?
Oh, it's still happening, and I have learned, and the
That's
reason this
insane.
came to mind, I learned that in 2023, the main character Meredith Grey actually is no longer part of the show. And I do feel like if you're going to have a show named after the main character Grey, you should at least like. And I get it. I know I said that replacing a main character with a new actor might be hard, but like either call it quits or replace her with a new actor. I
Right.
don't know, but yeah. So Grey's Anatomy, and even when I was watching it, it felt like every year it was like, oh, let's introduce this new rando and let's go in this whole other direction. And I get it. It started out with residents, so eventually they're going to grow up. It's like the
Yeah.
Smallville thing. But yeah, Grey's Anatomy definitely has maybe outstayed its welcome.
So another hospital show from now we're talking about the 80s. Saint Elsewhere. So
You,
that
you're
was
showing your age, Brad.
that was I loved. So that was Saint Elsewhere. I mean, that was oh my God, my brain's not working right now. But I want to say was it George Clooney was on that one?
No, that was
Um,
ER. ER was George.
Oh, that's
Clooney.
right. It was um da da da. Oh, Ed Begley Jr., Denzel Washington, Howie Mandel.
Really?
They were all on that.
Wow.
And so, but the thing is at the very end, you find out none of it is real.
Was this one of those like it was all a dream type things?
No, it was all. It pans out to this autistic child holding a snow globe.
Oh my God.
And in the snow globe is the hospital. It says St. Elsewhere. So it's all made up.
So I have to say, one of the things I hate in literature, movies, TV is the whole like either A, it was all a dream, which that sort of is, it was all a dream, or
But
it was all in
I
his
do,
or her head.
I do have one example of one that happened that was really good.
Okay.
But we'll get back to that.
The other thing I hate is like Deus Ex Machina stuff where like, God intervenes or like some mysterious force intervenes and fixes everything. And yeah, that just takes it too far for me. I'm not a fan. So yeah, I would have hated the end of that.
Now, another sci-fi one. This ending was kind of a lot more campy. I liked the ultimate ending of the the last episode, but that last episode was kind of campy.
Okay.
Quantum Leap.
So I don't know that I ever like was aware. I knew it ended, but like I think I was young enough or young enough that when I was watching it, it was reruns, and so I would watch the same episode like 16 times because that's the one they chose. And I actually don't actually know how that ends.
The last episode, he ends up in this area. He's in a bar. There's a coal mine, but it's inhabited by people whose bodies he had leapt into, but they weren't them. It was really kind of weird. But it alluded to that the bartender was God. And
Oh.
he was the one controlling who he was leaping into. So
were these like the characters that like were the people in the bar?
they looked
They were the people like before he went and fixed them, I guess. So to
no,
speak.
not at
Okay.
all. So it was basically it was basically like their bodies, them, but it wasn't really,
I
you
see.
know.
Okay.
So, but
He didn't interact with them.
yeah, he interacted, and it was kind of like, hey, you're the, no.
Gotcha.
So, but you know, what kind of made it a little bit better was that at the very end, he leapt into. I think I don't remember who he leapt into or whatever, but he basically, one of the overarching themes was that Al, his friend, his lifelong friend, who was his connection to the present, um, had lost his wife because he was a prisoner of war in, I think it was in Vietnam.
Might have been
Um,
Korea,
might have
maybe.
been Korea.
Yeah.
Um, but then he was gone for 5 6 years, and she had remarried. So
Oh.
he leapt back in and basically said to her, "He's still alive. Don't lose hope." So that
Mm.
was kind of like, that was the saving grace. But overall, it was really freaking campy.
But I love that show. Like
That was a great show.
I really love that show. It touched on some really important topics, and you saw some things dramatized, obviously, but you saw some history that you might not have been aware of prior to. Because I think most of the things in there were actually based on like
Well, yeah,
real stories.
yeah, no, absolutely.
So, so I feel like we've covered this pretty well. Any other
I've
shows
got a
you want to bring?
few
Okay,
more.
go for it.
Dexter.
See, I only watched like the first season of that.
So when I began watching Dexter, which was years after it was off, I was warned, don't watch the final season.
Really?
Don't watch the final season. It's horrible. And so I watched the series, and it was fantastic. And I'm like, all right, well, I've got to continue. And I didn't even get through the first episode. I
So,
didn't even get through the first episode of that last one because they changed some of the major characters, their personalities, and it was freaking horrible.
so I actually on my list had a series of shows that um, the WB or CW or whatever it was when these shows were on. They had a bunch of DC comic shows: Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow. Some of them like they would start
Black
in another
Lightning.
network, yeah. But they kept doing these crossovers, and I get that they were trying to do like the comic book style
Yeah,
thing,
that's
where like,
annoying though.
well, watch this, watch and I just felt like once they started doing the crossover thing, it just the show changed. They were having to force it so much to fit those
Right.
timelines that all of those shows kind of jumped the shark simultaneously to me.
I'd like to move on to some series that really kind of tied it up nicely.
Okay, I didn't think of any of those, so I'll probably be agreeing with
So
you.
to go back to what you were saying about the dream thing, Newhart.
See,
New
not a show
so
that you're an old man.
Yeah, I am. So Newhart, so Bob Newhart, he
He
had
died
a,
recently, didn't he?
I believe so,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
If not,
Anyway,
he's really freaking old. So Bob Newhart had a series back in like 60s, 70s, and this happened in the 80s. So there was the Bob Newhart show, and then this one was called Newhart,
oh, okay.
where Newhart, he played the proprietor of like a bed and breakfast.
Was this Larry, Daryl, and Daryl?
Yes, yes,
Yes. Oh
yes,
yeah, I
yes.
love Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
I'm Larry. This is Daryl. This is my other brother, Daryl.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yes, so um, at the very end of that series, he wakes up out of bed, and it's his wife from the original series.
Oh
So
wow.
that's one instance where it's the dream sequence works.
But that's that like once in a lifetime moment where like you can make it work just
But because it's
because.
the same person.
Yeah. No, that
Okay.
okay. I'll get behind that.
Um, Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, I mean that show. I there are a few comedies that I would say I can't think of an episode I didn't like, and
That was slow moving for me. It took me a little bit to get into it, But once I was into it, I was hooked.
It's an odd, quirky kind of comedy, and you have to love Eugene Levy and what's her name, O'Hara,
Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine O'Hara. If you don't know Catherine O'Hara, she's the mom from Home Alone, the original one, and they are delightful. And that show, even if you watch a couple episodes and you're not into it, keep watching. It is heartwarming. It is hilarious. It is just wonderfully done. Yeah, Schitt's Creek. I can't say anything bad about it.
They're driving out and they look at the sign one last time.
Yeah, and you'll see the sign if you watch it.
Some people might argue with me on this one, but The Sopranos.
I've watched like 3 episodes.
Really?
Yep. Just never had. It wasn't like that I didn't want to. Never had HBO at the time, and never.
Okay.
Just never watched.
So I mean, it's basically mafia.
Yeah.
But at the very end, the family, are sitting in a diner and they're playing "Don't Stop Believing," and then blackness, and then you're kind of led to believe that a bomb went off.
Oh.
But it's kind of like, I like that kind of an ending where it kind of leaves it open to the imagination as to you're not sure what exactly might have happened.
Okay. You know, a show that I think wrapped up really well. I didn't love the follow on as much. Breaking Bad. I thought Breaking Bad was really well produced.
Actually,
well
that was on my list.
Yeah, I thought that ended very well. The acting throughout that was just incredible.
Yeah.
And they did do Better Call Saul, which was okay.
It's really good. It's really good.
Okay, I haven't watched the whole thing.
I haven't watched the entire. I've watched like I think 3 seasons of it, but I haven't watched the entire thing.
And I didn't love the movie with Jesse in it, the follow-on movie to wrap his storyline.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't love that. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't great. But I thought the show itself was amazing.
MASH.
MASH, man, I remember I grew up watching MASH reruns with my dad. And honestly, I did eventually watch the movie and didn't love it as much. But like MASH the show, yeah, the great show all around. One of those shows you can turn on any episode and really find a good laugh and a good moment of appreciation for what it must be like to be a MASH surgeon, or must have been like, I guess.
And
but
dealing with different issues, and just on a slight tangent now, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the original Star Trek.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
The original Star Trek, it's not all about sci-fi, but Gene Roddenberry was using that platform to talk about social issues going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, blah 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 blah. I said that I think The Office ended nicely. Charmed. You didn't watch Charmed?
No.
All right, forget Parks and Rec. You watched?
Parks absolutely. And Rec. Yeah.
All right.
Delightful show. Delightful ending.
Parks and Rec was nice where it had my God, no, so much wine now I'm forgetting the names. But the 2 characters, talking about don't want kids. Flashback a year later, she's on the hospital bed.
Yep.
And with her Halloween makeup on, about to give birth, and like, we can wash you off. And she's like, no, I put this makeup on after labor. That's how I want to look.
Wow. Yeah. Another great show. And unless you have a really important one you want to mention, I think this is actually a good moment to switch into characters I'd like to have a drink with.
Okay.
So one of the top of my list, Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman's character.
Yeah. Well, but it would be like Scotch.
Well, yeah, I just went with drink. I think you originally said beer.
No, I said drink.
Okay,
I said drink.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But
little Lagavulin. It's got to be Lagavulin.
I mean, if you're drinking anything else, he's going to shit on you.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to have it with a steak, probably, and a cigar.
Probably. Yeah.
So who was on your list?
No, it was House.
Okay.
I think, you know what? This just kind of came to the top of my head.
Although I would be worried about House because I'd worry he'd like point out something and I'd be like, "You're gonna die."
Well, yeah.
Well, but then he'd save me apparently.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
All right.
Captain Kirk. I would enjoy having a drink with Captain Kirk.
Shatner Kirk, not
Yeah, Shatner, the original,
Yeah.
the
The other
original.
guy was all right. The
Yeah,
other guy was all
Chris
right.
Pine.
Yeah, Chris Pine.
But it was a different. I mean, it was a different person.
So another one that was on my list, the dude from Big Lebowski. Like, man, you gotta love the dude. If you haven't seen the Big Lebowski,
Yeah.
just stop listening, go cue it up, watch it. It is such an amazing movie. Sam Elliott narrates it. He does a great job. He's only in there a
Yeah.
little bit, but yeah, the dude. I'd have a drink with the dude, a little White Russian.
Animal.
From the Muppets?
Nope. From Oh my God.
The A-Team?
No.
Wasn't there an animal in
No,
A-Team?
wasn't the character animal? John Belushi. From
From College.
Yes.
I don't think his name was Animal.
Wasn't it Animal?
No.
Oh my God! Now I gotta look this up.
What am I? Why can I not remember the name of
This
this?
is what happens when you're drinking.
Yes. By the way, Brad, this Carménère, I don't know that I've ever actually had a Carménère until now, but
Isn't it
I will be exploring this more because it is wonderful. Here, you should have.
Oh, Bluto.
Bluto, right?
That's what it was. Animal House.
Yeah, I feel like some antics would be had if I were to have a drink with him.
Yeah.
Another person, obviously, Charlie Harper from 2.5 Men was on my list, as was I mentioned earlier Barney Stinson.
Barney, definitely.
So I kind of jumped the rails. I mean, I guess they've made movies with this guy. One of my favorite novels has been made into movies at least twice, or into a movie at least twice. And I guess I didn't limit it to.
Is it Judy Blume book?
Yeah. The Care Bears movie. No. The Great Gatsby. The guy who is the voice of the Great Gatsby, Nick Carraway. I would love to sit down and pick his brain about his reflections upon the experience of going through what he went through with this crowd. If you've never read The Great Gatsby, wonderful American novel. It's a classic. A very normal middle class guy gets pulled into this world of excess in the Great Depression, and highly recommend it. But Nick Carraway, he would be on my list. I know that's really I'm going nerdy again, but yeah.
God, you know what? If I was gonna go literary, you know what? I'm not even gonna go character. I'm gonna go author, and I'm gonna go with Tolkien.
Okay, yeah, I can get. Actually, I would love to sit down and have a drink with Tolkien and C.S. Lewis together. Like that would be.
Yeah, but C.S. Lewis is gonna get really religious with you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like I think he talked a lot about religion, but I think he was very just down to earth and philosophical, which if you read Tolkien enough, the themes that they write about are shared. It's just C.S. Lewis went more allegorical, and it was very obvious, the lion and all of blah 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 blah. But
Right.
yeah, I think the two of them, because they were very good friends, would
I didn't know that.
yeah, they were friends, and they I think it would be a really good conversation. I actually on my list wrote any elf, dwarf, or wizard. Because I feel like dwarves. I feel like we'd get wasted and like destroy stuff.
I'm pretty close to that height.
You are a wizard.
Yes.
Also.
No, I was gonna say dwarf.
That's why I love you, Brent.
Yeah. Whatever.
Anybody else on your list?
No, I'm good.
So other people I had on my list were and please don't get offended if you're religious.
I'm already offended.
I had Jesus, just because
Really?
like I would love to actually like talk to him about like what do you feel about like what you were trying to do versus like where we are now.
I'd have been really like, come on, really, who'd your mom do?
Hey, what was Mary up to?
Right.
But no, I have anyone from a Hemingway novel. Like I feel like his characters would all be very interesting people to have a drink with. Sherlock Holmes
All right.
and Watson. Watson. I actually had Watson
I
Orchard.
don't think you have a choice. Watson's
Yeah.
gonna kind of.
Sterling Archer from Archer.
Yeah, that would be. Although he would be constantly distracted. It would be more drinking and him going, "Who's that?"
Yeah. So if you haven't watched Archer, don't do it with your children, unless you want to really corrupt them. But Archer is a great cartoon, but it's a very it's without being porn. It's very adult oriented.
It's
Oriented.
kind of like .007 if he had no morals
Yes.
and more
And it's really
comics
funny because
and more
007 doesn't have a lot of
no,
morals.
no, but no morals. But if we're gonna go that way, then I'd want to have a drink with Deadpool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be a blast.
Yeah.
Um, I think the only other person I have that's worth mentioning is Wayne from Letterkenny.
Oh my God.
Yes, Letterkenny is an amazing comedy about this small town in Canada, and Wayne is kind of the main character.
I've seen that I've seen that series multiple times, and while I want to say that it kind of let go a little bit, and I definitely didn't enjoy the offshoot.
Yeah, yeah. Don't bother
Um,
with the
the one what
Shorzy.
Shorzy. But Letterkenny is so good.
Yeah.
You know who I'd want to have a drink with just to observe her is I don't remember the name of the character, but the bartender.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say his sister. I was like, yeah, you would want
Well,
to
yeah,
observe her.
no, but the bartender, the one who was hitting on
Yes.
anyone and everything.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, Brad, anything else you want to talk about this topic? We've really covered it
I
pretty
think
well.
we did it.
All right. Well, next episode's topic, Brad and I talked about earlier, and hopefully one of us remembers it.
I remember it.
Brad, what was that? It's my topic, but well, Brad mentioned it.
How to deal when a loved one is aging.
Yeah, and this is something most likely we're all going to go through if we're not already going through it. And I think it's a good topic. Yeah, like
I'm going through it right now. I mean, my mom is really old. Really old. I mean,
mom,
really old.
he said it.
And I'm only saying that because she watches this.
Jamie and I met your mom for the first time the other day via video, and I gotta say, like, I think she looks a little younger than you, man.
Dude, don't hit on my mother. Jamie's gonna get jealous. I already have one buddy from high school that always makes comments about how my mom is hot.
I used to make a lot of comments on Facebook back when I was still on there. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, any final thoughts you want to share?
Oh, I'll find out in a few days about when I'm going to Chicago to testify with the FBI.
Ooh.
It's only a day or two, and then it's nothing crazy.
All right.
But other than that, I'm gonna need to send an email out over to Lobo Hills because this is insane.
Tell them Daniel says please send wine.
It's insane.
Yes.
How good these wines are.
Absolutely. I cannot stress enough how good these are, and definitely need to check them out.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, we are not being offered anything. We're not sponsoring that. Like
No.
we're just two guys having wine, enjoying the.
I just wanted to bring something over that we hadn't had before, and I've been a member of Lobo Hills for 3 years. It's insane how good this is.
Yeah, no, it's delicious. So, well, again, this is another episode. We really appreciate you joining us. It might have gone a little long, but I think we had a lot of fun. Please check us out. We are on Apple and Spotify podcasts. We are on YouTube, and our website is winewhiskeyandwords.com. Our email is winewhiskeyandword.com. Some jerk took the S. So who knew? But yeah, we are available on all of those things. I'm sure Brad's got one or two other things. He's Instagram, maybe.
Instagram.
Yep, we're on Instagram. Apparently.
Yeah.
I'm not a social media person, so that's why we have Brad. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to the next one. Brad is going to take a picture right here, and
just because Instagram, I have to post a picture
Okay.
or something.
Well,
And
we got to do the bottles too, so everybody
all right, I'll
knows.
take a picture of the bottles
Yeah,
as
we'll
well.
do that in a minute. But
All
anyway,
right.
we hope you enjoyed this. We enjoyed it, and we look forward to the next episode. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks. If not, it'll be the third one.
Something like that.
And wish you well. Cheers.
Peace out.